Hello to Studying and Reviewing on this Appy Hour. So glad you could join us today. We've got agenda for you today. There are our big topics. If you're okay with the agenda, go ahead and share an emoticon with me in the chat. If you have a specific answer or question or comment, something you just burning needed, it brought you to Appy Hour, you can throw that in the chat as well. So agenda, let's start talking paper or online. I give you a big picture moment. And it's actually a question, the first thing I want to do with it is ask you a question. How do you study best? So about your college days, your high school days, your grad school, anybody doing a doctorate out there. The last time you had to take a test, how do you sit down and study? The last pesky principles exam. So what do you do when you want to study for a test? You give the full stuff and kind of give words, phrases, ideas, just kind of what makes you study best. Go share in the chat. Reviewing that material, working with partners. Some of us are going to say alone and quiet. Lots of little stuff every day that came individually straight to me. Materials sprawled out. I'm a music person. Music with words I know. More like I start listening to soundtracks. I'll study a little bit differently. That's one of the kind of the big picture messages behind how to study and review is that the goal of this actually isn't to get kids to pass the test. The goal behind studying and reviewing today is how do we get kids to pass tests, but learn how to study best for them so that they can be successful. Because when we teach kids this superpower of education, how to reflect upon their own learning styles, their own strategies, and empower them to do well, we're giving them a superpower that they can use for the rest of their lives when it comes time to put our education pants and study hard. Whether quiet, with partners, people, or not. Transitions into big picture tech moment. Because with kids' skills like this, we're really living in a transformative instruction era. When we give the kids the things they need to do, they will be able to choose the right tool for them. So this isn't just a nice thing to do. It's the way in which if we move our students and our education will really benefit kids. With that wonderful turnover or online, which way to go? Is it a fight or isn't it? And I ask you while I switch my screen to pull up. I'm going to real fast for a second, so you're going to see what I see on my screen. And while I do, which do you like best? Online or if other folks are trying to put in answers, you can roll your cursor up to the top of the screen. There'll be a little menu that floats down. And just look for the chat bubble, and then you'll be able to enter online as well. And so far, online is winning. My first strategy actually says, you know what? There doesn't have to be a battle. Let me scooch this down. I like to take notes and like to review on paper. Like Ola mentioned that straight to me privately. If you'd like to share with everybody, you can just choose all participants and send to, and I'll be able to see it as well. And some people just like to take notes, and it's a process for them of writing by hand helps them remember things. And that's great. So what happens but we as teachers, like if you give them a review sheet like this one, this is my little fake review sheet here, it's too hard to grade some things face-to-face and some things online. That's a pain for us, right? If you look at that statement, you can can give me an exclamation point. We want to go both ways. What we need is a workaround to help those kids who know for themselves that writing by hand helps them remember better, but still grade in a reasonable fashion. And it's not edible, and it's not really, even trying to print something in my basement is such a pain. And I'm a techie. So I'm not saying everyone print out. I said everyone turn it in digitally. And we suggest doing that in the super simplest way by inserting an image of it. Picture of the notes that they wrote by hand with their phone. They can come up to this little insert key, insert image. Shot here, if you have a camera installed on your computer, allow you to take a snapshot of whatever piece of paper you were working on. You just hold it up to the camera and take a picture. This type of stuff straight in to your files is a really simple way for the kids to post their work, even if they wrote it by hand. It also means if they have an oops and lose it, drop water on it, it falls down, it disappears, the dog ate it, they have a digital copy they can fall back on and print, and they don't lose out just because they lost their stuff. So the first online versus paper debate we have can be solved by just providing a way for kids to get everything digitally, and it's using the most basic of technologies, the camera. An image. If they're uploading one from their phone, they click on upload. If they're taking a snapshot, they click on take snapshot. Battle between these two is actually another pretty simple one. Let's say you had them do stuff by hand. Reviewing our notes is really valuable. Well, there's another really handy, spiffy way that kids can go from paper to digital that actually helps them reinforce their memory. And it's called Tools Voice Typing. Has anybody used voice typing out there? Typing. You'll see that it's really awesome, period. New paragraph. You can go in and read your notes, period. And you magically appear on the screen, period. The process of rereading them out loud will help you remember them, comma, while at the same time allowing students who like to write notes by hand, comma, to digitize them really quickly, period. If you that's probably worth at least, comma, I would say 2 exclamation points, period. Now, works for English, period, but it's a new feature, comma, and Google is constantly improving it, period. Lynn can Google search to see if they've come up with other languages, period. Yeah, but I know that you're a foreign language RT, and one foreign language teachers have been using this, comma, is to have students read their work and see if it shows up as dicted in the language, period. So that's a really cool tool as well, period. A little disconcerting to always see your words come up on the screen. You can imagine if they're going through and doing a review sheet, how cool would that be that they could go through and read their notes and see them appear on the screen? As it's faster than writing, they go in and say, in the 1920s, comma, where American and socialists take over, period. Perfect, but that's okay. It's close, and it helps kids review. Strategy, and that paper versus online battle also uses both together. You have a paper-based notes, and you read them directly into a document. The process of saying them again and again is useful, and it allows the work to become digital, where it used to just be paper. And saying period, even though I wasn't saying it out loud, but I'm sure you guys noticed that it was good at punctuation. I can say period, I can say comma, I can say paragraph, and it enters these elements of into the writing. And you guys said you were using it and kids love it. If you want to throw in how you used it, probably not for reviewing, feel free to throw it in the chat because we always love new ideas. questions on either of these two tips or tricks, go ahead and write them in the chat. If not, you can give me an emoticon of some sort. So on our agenda here was the ever-present review sheets. I know we have a mixed crowd from elementary to high school. If you have given out a review sheet to your kids in the past year, give me a yes in the chat. So some of us haven't. And I think those of us who have really know that there's some drawbacks and there's also some real benefits to the reviews. We know that taking them away is kind of a big, thing. There's a problem with the giant review sheet with dozens and dozens of questions. And it's a problem that gets exacerbated with Google. What do you think the problem that all these awesome Google tools do to the typical review sheet that teachers used to Xerox hand out and kids have to handwrite? Thoughts in the chat. Too much, definitely one of the problems. Another copying. And if they don't bother to read it, they lose it. It doesn't teach them to be very independent either. Says copy. Actually, oops, silly. Let's start with Kelly's too much information. So a typical review sheet has tons and tons and tons of questions on it. And the teacher expects the kids to fill in the answers. So when you start, the easy ones, right? The easy ones, you go and cherry pick the ones you know first because you know you'll get closer to being done. And that's a danger right there. The goal isn't to get ready for the test with a review sheet. You have to fill out. The goal is you got to get it done. So you start with the easy ones. Well, darn. Is that the way we study when we sit down for a college class? Did I say, I'll study all the easy stuff I already know first? That's a waste of time. Our kids don't have that time. So here's a really easy strategy. It's a very fun one. I'm going to invite you guys to do it with me. So I'm going to go ahead and throw my review sheet link in the chat. And for editing with all of you guys, because we want you to be able to edit. I want you to click on that link and join me here. I'm going to put my key up at the top of the page. I'm going to make no lights of green. Oops, I need to do it as a highlighter. Excuse me. You see I'm going to highlight using green. You know that I'm going to do my not sure here, and I highlight this, and I'm going to say my not sures are purple. And over here to no idea. No idea is going to be, not a good color at all. We're going to make no ideas yellow. Okay, 3 color ideas. With the worksheet, the first thing kids should be doing is say, what is it that I absolutely know, what sure of, and what am I no idea about? The nice about that is it's for them to prioritize their work, and to go through it one time without having to write anything down, which gets their brains thinking, and it's fast. Everybody can do this. So I invite everyone who came in here with me now to pick one of the questions and categorize it. So I'm Harding, I know who he is, so I'm going to say that's a green one. But I don't know what kind of is, so I'm going to make that a no idea. Make highlighting that you're actually highlighting using the highlighter, not the text color. Just important to note. So go through and pick a couple of these colors. Oh, I see Anne, you've got one in there. Perfect. couple more. Actually, I have no idea, and I taught U.S. history. I don't know what Ford-Meade-McCumrick tariff is. I don't know this, so let's make that. I have no idea. I actually have a vague notion what this is. Woohoo! Color. When you go through and do this, and you gave a color code, so you go through and you kind of gave a standard color code. You have them write all these pieces down, and the kids go through and they highlight everything the way they're supposed to. Through and they said, this is what I know, this is what I don't know. Now at the end, the kids to use an add-on called Highlight Summarizer. Has anybody out there used it? An emoticon or yes? I'll show you what it does. Summarize. This happened, but it did. Look at the very bottom. It's all the questions that I highlighted using the different colors. Now, some people did white, which wasn't one of my colors, but see, look at all my yellows. And this up here, these are the 3 questions that I have no idea about. Taken what was a standard review sheet for everybody and customized it to myself. I said to myself, these are the questions I need to do first. And then if I can move it around. But all the questions, if I come up here and I pick my colors and I do all of that become a question at the bottom. So instead of starting with the ones I know, because that's the easiest way to finish the document, I then assign to my kids, start the ones you're not sure about first. Actually doing this in class, here's another strategy. Start with the not sures, and how do you do that, right? So if they're sitting there trying to figure those answers out, what should they do? Well, if you're not sure, you have a general sense, you just can't pull it together. So what you need is a fast. So in that case, come up here to the term Kellogg-Briand Pact. Guesses of what that is? I don't know. I think maybe it has something to do with Russia. That's probably what a kid's doing. They're going, what does that have something to do with, right? I'm going to use a tool. You can press Control-Alt-Shift-I, which is fun, because it's that right here. I don't memorize that. Over on the side, if you've ever used research, what the Kellogg-Briand Pact is. And I'm okay, it's a treaty, conversation, bilateral agreement, and to stop a war. I can click on it, find a little bit more about it. Heck, I want to pull over a picture to remember what it is. I can pull a picture over. I highlight this text if I want to highlight this text and pull it over. I can start to get my answers on the sheet as fast as possible. None that go and find the answers was the way in which we learned to study best. All of us said review our notes was there. So the key is to get the kids the answers as fast as you possibly can so they can start to study them. What is communism? Control, I. It comes up, it starts communism. Oh, great. Now I have a visual in me, and I can say, oh, here's what communism is, and I get my memory, and it matters to me. So I can put in Tennessee Valley Authority. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's where it matters. And it was this, and it became unconstitutional, and I can get my answers in. So it's a really efficient way for kids to go through and gather up the information they need so that they can study from it. And in most cases, they have a good sense of what these terms are. They just kind of forgot. So, oh yeah, Tennessee Valley Authority. Oh, that was the one with the electricity. Once they see the map and a little over here, they can go in and talk about why the Tennessee Valley Authority mattered, and talk about how Franklin Delano Roosevelt lost this in the Supreme Court and it led to the hacking period. They're giving themselves the information they need and getting it all together as quickly as possible. If you don't have a smiley face, if you like an idea of how you'd use it with your kids, you can throw that in. Now, how do I get to the research tab? Well, I can right-click on anything like this, and it will research it. To tools and go research, and it. Or if you Control-Shift-I, so you know keystrokes, bring it up. Now, I don't keep that memorized. When I use research, I look at that, and then I remember it, and then I use it. I don't think I have that memorized. It just does it for me right there. The third trick. Well, the third trick comes into what do you do with those questions that you really have absolutely no idea about? What about those? Well, that's really where some energy is focused. So I just have a strategy for you. If you come in to find your questions that you have no idea about. So let's say you have no idea about the Red Scare affecting Vanzetti here. You don't know that at all. Well, that's where I recommend kids to go start researching. Because they say, and what they look up might not be the right answer, and they don't have any sense of how to judge that. So when it comes to that, I also don't want them to pair up with another kid or just listen to me give a quick definition. Because if me just telling you that Sacco and Vanzetti were Italian immigrants and they were accused of a bombing and an anarchist, if that's what I do to teach you, why didn't I just do that in the first place? You need to connect that with communism and Red Scare and nativism and fear of immigrants. And gosh, if you're in my class, you're connecting that to today and our current wave of nativism, right? So what I want you to do with this is that you need to know what was in class. As your first, kind of rule of thumb, I want the assignment that we did in class. So I like the idea of giving kids, 6 minutes, 8 minutes to pair up with a buddy and get together and do the ones they absolutely don't know. Sure, get down a couple key terms and invents in their notes, but also links to the assignment. So if you're in your working classroom, if you've given out a worksheet, the name of the assignment, tell the students where to get the they don't know. And go through their notes efficiently and find the work. Looking for stuff. We're looking at the stuff. So if you're looking for an efficient way for the stuff the kids have no idea about, consider don't know for what assignment taught it, so they can go back and look at that assignment and get some context and tricks. Now, focused on how do you have kids individually pick their own procedurally review. We're going to jump to what happens when you take that next step and start to review collaboratively in lessons. So if you have any, go ahead and throw them in the chat. Cool. Back to, we started with the problems, and I said, let's focus first. And we come first on too much information. So just taught kids how to scaffold the information and focus on what they need to know so that they can learn. But let's come to that problem now of copying. And so one of the things that Google really facilitates. I take this whole document and a couple, quick moves and steps. I can shift what things look like, right? And make this document look totally different. And so they pasted it from a buddy. It looked to you like I did my work. But of course, that doesn't really help you study. It just gets the work done. So instead of studying individually, our next idea is having you start to collaborate together on work. And I suggest the use of slides. Please feel free to say yes if you have in the chat. Have used slides for collaborative work before. The nice part about it is that you can create a bunch of new slides and kid their own slides. So, Lee, this one, Kelly, you have this one, Michelle, you have that one, and work together without being messy. Thank you. So people like to do that with slides. I invite you to join me here in this slide. And instead of giving a review sheet for everybody, what if you did a review sheet where you gave parameters, like for my philosophy final exam, they had to know the term, who wrote it, and lengths and limitations. What the kids did is everyone picked one to start with, right? Came in and defined the terms, right? They defined the terms, though. That's what the purple page. On the white side of the page, they had to link resources that helped them remember the terms. And they did this using that awesome stuff like we did. So they came in here and they would highlight, go up to tools, research, and start pulling cool pictures in. They did videos. But Ken is saying, but he's always, But you know what? You read that Calvin, and you're remembering 10 times more than any words you wrote. If you just do a quick review, that might stick in your head. So they put together not only this, but also definitions, pieces of paper. They wrote it down, and they created their own review sheet for themselves as a class. Instead of fighting against studying together to study. And that's an important strategy and skill as well, considering groups are kind of the stalwart of certain, you could watch a law school movie without hearing about study groups, right? So scaffolding their studying together, giving them a way to work together digitally, are how to study. One upgrade, and if you have any questions or thoughts, throw them in the chat. If I had one upgrade to myself, and I didn't do this summer, but we're all active, right? I would have added a separate space, like this one, on the side, and I would have asked them to say, where did we learn it? And name the assignment and link to it if it mattered. That way, they could get back to the work we did in class and look at their notes if they really didn't remember it. Again, anyone can look up ad hominem on the internet. What matter to us? Anybody can come down here to some of these guys, like premise and claim. We talked about it within the concept, not just premise, but within the concept of philosophy. So I feel like adding that really would help frame the instructions. From in the chat. Touch ourselves into practice and play. As I pull up on the screen for you some of our ideas for practice and play into your routine. If you have any fun websites, thoughts, or places for go to practice and play. And your students go to. Switch real quick. That's supposed to happen. Now, that getting good at is good practice, which is it's actually a tail end of our alone or together studying. We were 50-50 when we said alone or together. But most people would probably say, you know what, they could work while this is collaborative at the same time. It also gives folks who like to work alone room to really do a great, to be able to work with others but not have to worry about others upon your time. Here's another strategy that you can do for collaborative work together that really teaches kids a good habit of mind. And the habit of mind is guessing what's going to be on the exam. Anybody who's ever taken an AP US class knows that those teachers love to predict what's going to be on the test. They have like whole blog forums dedicated to guessing what's in the College Board's mind. But scale that back. If you can guess what the essay questions are going to be, you're not thinking about the content. You'll be prepared and ready to take the test, right? So asking kids to predict the essay questions on the test. That's right here. And I'm going to invite anybody, if you want to take this one with me, here's the test. You could put in and say, what is the question? That's not a great question, but I don't know what the question's going to be. It's going to be on the impact on immigrants. Why not, right? And then you can ask your kids to tell you what questions do they feel they really need to review. This one, are you ready or not? Crazy. Just asking kids to rate their readiness, participation, and focus on tests. Sure, they can look at C-based responses, and that's cool. You can respond, and they can look here. But also choose to show a spreadsheet, and the students can all look and see what questions are. And then they can be like, oh, those are the questions, right? If yours is way off and doesn't make any sense, you'll do it. And like, if you're right there, if you've clicked on my form, if you're there and you sent an answer in, it's going to pop into here, and you will see over and over again. And if you get a new, hey, I want to submit another response, you can go ahead and submit another response, and all of that will come in with you. Them to predict answers on their tests, and then sharing where, of course, because with the whole class helps let them work together but apart at the same time. The other I have with that, let me pull it over a little, is when you create form. And these are 3 pieces of advice. If you never created a form, I'll throw a support guide in the chat for you at the end. And we have a lot of Appy hours that talk about creating forms. You collect the MCPS's username, because that will tell the kids what they wrote, and that's probably better to be anonymous. And you do want to push and show the link to the results and the link to the spreadsheet in this space. And you can chat if you don't have any, or your choice. And now, again, just a smidge too fast, but now it's time to say practice and play. When you're giving out your exams, linking them to fun things where they can practice what they're doing. This one is a great one for you elementary folks out there. It's on manipulatives. Let them come in and practice things like place value. They have games associated with them. They let you do things like compare, add and subtract. And the kids will learn more by practicing rather than just reiterating what they were supposed to do. For all you spell test fans out there, word sorts rather than rote practice has been proven by research to be far more effective than simply memorizing. This one, which is Hoffman, is Milton? It's a fun way to do word sorts with just the words and back. For all grade levels, don't worry, I didn't leave out, sorry high school folks, I knew you were holding with me. I recommend Quizlet. Anybody out there use Quizlet? Use your Google account. You can make little quick practice for your students that they can choose their type of activity. If they're a flashcard gal, flashcards. If there's dozens of other ones. But really, the real key here is never make one, search them. Let me tell you, I went in to do logical fallacies. I was all ready this summer to be like, okay, I'm going to do logical fallacies. And I realized, no, somebody else has done it better. In fact, ones for like of mice, of men, like for you English people out there, there's great ones where people have already gone in and done the chapters. In our textbook chapter, I did some for Esau. I go in and write the name of the story. Oh, let's see, Esau, a game was one of them. A Game of Light and Shade is one of those books that they read, the short stories they read, and I found fantastic games exactly for the articles that they were reading, and I could link to them. So Quizlet and say you're with me, we love it. Try to search for your topic because there's a good shot somebody else has already made it for you, and you can edit rather than create from scratch. Some play. Do links to these cool things right there on that review sheet or on your website or in your classroom. Your kids will appreciate it. For kids to play individually and in groups. So we're meeting both learning styles. When it's not about, it's not finishing the worksheet. So let's give you 10 points because you did the worksheet. The goal needs to shift for students to start to learn how are they learning, how do they learn best, whether it be paper online. They need to provide a vehicle to support them with that. Our reviews need to become a part of thought practice so that kids can learn to study what's important and not just complete it. Kids are even when they're alone, so let's engage the collaborative tools and it goes wrong when you get some play involved in your practice. If you have, you can throw them in the chat and know that we don't just end when we turn off the show. Your instructional technology specialists, there's 2 assigned to each school, are glad to help and follow up on all the tips and tricks you see here. We do Appy hours bi-weekly and for limited time only. We're actually added a 3rd show every 2 weeks at 8 o'clock in the morning. So we're trying to help you elementary folks out there, but anybody who has second period off in high school might be amused well. And we record all our Appy hours, so you can get to them at our site, and I will be throwing that in the chat right now. You can get to watch any Appy hours from this year and last year. And of course, don't forget to Google it. You want to do something? Yeah, maybe we'll tell you. And if not, we're here to help as well. Plus, Lisa and I, we're the ones who put on these shows. You can always follow us on Twitter. We will remind you when Appy hours are and also push out our shows and cool tips and tricks. But please fill out our survey to let us know if you think we did a job. We do take your feedback really seriously, and we try to make sure that we're putting on the best product that you guys can learn, and we can help get you the tips and tricks you need to improve instruction around the county. Thanks for coming today. We really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun, and keep in touch. When you think of something awesome, when you use one of our tips and tricks, when you something new, tell us about it. Shoot us an email or, hey, tweet. We love it. Follow-up survey. And as promised, I'm also going to throw our forms cheat sheet in today. We have a real quick forms can do for you, but if you need step-by-step directions, that sheet will help. Thanks, have a great day.